Hi there, it's Fran Davidson from psychicandenergywork.com.au. How are you? How's everything progressing in your world? It's crazy times, everything's full on, lots of unknowns, lots of stretching. And that's probably the purpose of this video. It's interesting, this year is just so powerful. At the beginning of this year on my website, psychicandenergywork.com.au, in the observations about this year, 2020, I outlined how these next 12 months were likely to be really powerful. And of course, in Australia, let alone anywhere else, that's certainly been the case. Here in Oz, around the country, we saw all sorts of amazing natural events. Bushfires, of course, in the first 1.5 to 2 months in each state, I believe, virtually all states. And then, of course, amazing rains following straight afterwards. And then, of course, coronavirus, so bang, bang, bang. It's interesting because March's numerological profile was very similar to January's. And what I'm meaning there is something that I'm going to now refer back to the year's chart to help you understand perhaps a little, so that maybe I'm hoping lift your spirits a bit to the degree that you're needing that. Okay, so in numerology, in a chart, there are 3 main numbers. That could be argued with, but really there's 3 main numbers. There's the birth number, there's the MO, there's also the reality number. The birth number tells us what we're here to learn about, and therefore step into, exemplify, channel, create, pass on, resonate with all over again as individuals on a spiritual level, but also in a way that's palpable, overt, noticed by others as well. Then you have the MO, and the MO tells us how we're likely to be helped in achieving the new birth number vibrations. So no number talks about you necessarily learning something for the first time. Spiritual development is always more about perhaps us remembering, reconnecting with things that we're already aware of, we've already known since birth. It's just that life, of course, can derail us, it can distract us, it can pull us off those tracks a little bit, if not majorly so, perhaps in times like these for a moment. The last number in the chart that's worth noting is the reality number, and that tells us what we're likely to end up co-creating as states and outcomes, results, as a result of stepping into the birth number vibration more in our own way as we discover, as we learn to do over the period involved via the MO vibrations. So, what am I saying there? 2020 adds down to a 4. That's the birth number for the year. That's not the only birth number you'll be dealing with. You'll also be dealing with birth numbers to do with the month specifically, so for example this April. Then you'll also be dealing with your own birth number, the number that you came into the world on, your date of birth. So numerology is never one layer of numbers, it's a series of numbers, and each layer can help to add value and therefore explanation, and therefore ability to process objectively whatever we're needing to. The MO for this year is 797. The reality number is a 21992. So within those numbers, there are 3 master numbers, you could argue, maybe even 4. A master number is any vibration that sort of packs a double dose of spirituality, and therefore a double dose of the call to reconnect with yourself, let alone life, on a spiritual basis. In 2020's chart, of course, you've got 2020. Now, 20 is enough of a master number. 2020 is almost a double master number. So any number in itself, just 2, can be powerful enough as a period. 20 can be more than powerful in terms of, got enough to contend with, thank you very much. The universe has just brought me even more from a 20 aspect. So if you then move into 2020, you're talking about a whole new level of spiritual whammy, surprise development, impetus to grow and evolve. Then, of course, we've got 21992 as the reality number this year, and 99 is embedded in that. 99 is therefore a double number. Master numbers are any vibration that is doubled up: 11, 222, 4155, those two fives, yeah? So therefore, 2199, which adds down to 2, is not only a master number on that level, but 2199 also passes through 11 on its way to 2. So, can you see how many master numbers we have to contend with on a yearly platform this year, let alone on a monthly platform, let alone in our own personal numerology? There's a lot. What does this mean? I suppose in this video, what I'd like to focus on is that 2020, perhaps a little bit on the 7 as well. 2020 is an interesting dance. Even 20, as I said before, is an interesting dance, because 20 is people. So 2 is people. 2 is socializing, mingling, being out in the world in amongst other ones, other selves. Yeah? 0 is the exact opposite. 0 is silence. 0 is space. 0 is nothing, stillness. So 0, in one sense, is our spiritual connection. As an event, as a chapter, therefore as the unfolding, the emergence of a chapter, 2020 can come in as the need to contend with lots of people stuff, and then the need for space, or even lots of people stuff and space as it is suddenly presenting unexpectedly in a way that is new to us to digest and assimilate and therefore grow and learn through at this current time. 0 is interesting, 0 is nothing, and yet nothing is everything. So 0, from a spiritual angle, and even, shall we say, from an energetic angle, 0 is the lesson of understanding, shall we say, that everything starts from absolutely nothing. And so therefore, 0 is the lesson in don't buy into the physical nothing. Don't buy into the physical shift that is creating lack, uncertainty, loss, lack of flow, yeah? Even lack of contact. 0 is space, and 0 therefore is the role of space in making sure that the right level of self is channeled, is discovered, is perpetuated, is mentored even, and exchanged out in the world around us. Of course, to do that, we as spiritual beings, we have to connect to the right vibes first to get out there and channel them. So the period 2020 can involve lots of moments of being surrounded by people stuff and then needing time out. Being, shall we say, really surrounded by people stuff. That can be people, but it can also be people issues, relationship issues, yeah, relationship dynamics. It can be all the things that people can do, whether that's your own person, whether that's people in your immediate environment, or whether it's just people you're observing on the news, online, etc., etc. So 2 is anything to do with people, and therefore anything to do with our experience of society, our experience of group membership. And that can be had as a participant, active. It can be had as an innocent bystander, a witness. It can also be had as a learner, and therefore again as an observer from a spiritual development perspective. And after all, spiritual development is all about perceptions, perceptual developments, and therefore the thoughts, feelings and affirmations that flow from these things. 2020 is interesting. I'm not going to cover everything about this number in this video because otherwise we'll be going forever. But for the moment, 2020 adds down to 4. 4 is the number of building. 4 is the number of model, platform, base, foundation. Have you got the base right? Have we got the basics right? Through 2020, people then space, then people in space again. We're all being helped this year to come to better platforms, no matter how good our platforms were to begin with. The whole purpose of that is that, hello, life's always up. Life is always spiritual development. And in a master number year, life is more spiritual development probably than any of us have imagined or dialed in for, but not necessarily because it's bad. Master number periods always initially, I would say always, maybe not always, maybe sometimes they're absolutely delightful, and of course that can happen as well. But when they're here to really show us stuff, master number periods can be very jarring when they first emerge. And bear with me, we're only in the beginning of the 4th month. That's also really important to know, because often it's the first half of a numerological period where self is asked to discover, to stretch, to suspend its normal responses or theories so as to glean more. And again, master number periods, they introduce more of the universal agenda. They therefore introduce more of a sense of being out of control, of life not being constant, and therefore they're great reminders of how, hello, we're not really in charge. No matter how well set up things were before, no matter how secure they were before, master number periods, whether it's just for a second, just for a day, or just for longer, as we're seeing right now, master number periods can catapult us all into that very extreme reality of, hello, nothing's constant. The only constant is you and your essence, is you and the fact that the divine is real. And I don't say that from a religious aspect, even though it can apply there too. The energies of goodness, divine guidance, whatever your words are for that, it's real, it's palpable, it guides you all the time. And if you can tell me that you've never had a gut feel, a premonition, a dream, a vision, an image pop into your mind, we're all intuitive. 2020 is here to get us more into our gut feel so that we honour who we are, what we're here for, and also what we know is right. Through these things, 2020, do-si-doing in amongst busyness, having to deal with the world, having to be in the world, exchange with the world, share with the world, but also through moments of silence, lack, space, too much of, in a way that possibly I'm having an allergic reaction to that, at least for a moment, maybe even a fearful reaction to that, and fear is okay, it's human. 0 is also the need to process what you feel, process what you fear, process what you think and expect in a way that allows you to get it off your chest, out of your system, so as to come back to 0, so as to therefore be at the place where you can truly receive all that can come to you now, whether that is premonition, guidance, cash flow, opportunity, on any level. No number, no period, no second is bad, even though it can feel like that when it first hits and we don't got all the ammo or all the wisdom or the knowledge or the insight as to why it's going on and why things have just shifted so extremely. And yet, life is all about spiritual development, and the more we know that, the more we'll move into 4, working with it, building the right things out of now, adjusting the models and the processes, not necessarily because we asked to do this, wanted to do this. Hello, I was quite comfy before now. And yet a master number period is here to help us shift a gear in a way that we wouldn't have done if we were just left to our own devices. None of that is me trying to say that where you're at right now should be easy, simple, pleasant, enjoyable. It's not about that. And yet, don't lose the faith. Do what you can to come back to your spiritual connection, however you do that, whether that's just breath work and meditation, whether that's exercise like yoga, Pilates, stretching, whether that's aerobic level exercise. And aerobic level exercise really helps us process stuff. Through 2020, we're all being helped to 4, and 4 is the place where we build better. We build with better ingredients, with better formulae, with better inputs, outputs, processes, approaches, mindsets, perspectives. And 2020 as a master number year is here to make sure that we do that incredibly well. So keep the faith, do what you can to process, know that it's good stuff, even if that goodness, the sense of that goodness, the picture of that goodness, the reality of the goodness has yet to hit. Never lose faith, keep your eye on the long term, and know that everything's good. All the very best to you. I'm going to continue my explanations about this year's chart in another series of videos in a couple of minutes. But thanks for tuning in. Let me know how you go.